What's up, everybody? We back. R2C2.
I've missed you, man.
It's been a while.
Been a while. We have someone who won me many fantasy championships, so I am eternally grateful. And as you, as a huge football fan, I know you love this.
Yes.
Terrell Owens in the building. What up, T.O.?
All right, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
You're a big hoops fan, then, huh?
I love basketball.
Yeah.
I love basketball.
I know you tried to play in the Big Three, right?
They wouldn't let me play. They won't let me play for
In
whatever
the Big
reason.
Three you was going to play?
Yeah, I'm gonna play.
Oh, what happened?
Obviously, it's an NBA sanctioned thing. So, obviously a lot of the former players or what have you and retired players, it's their thing. So
Yeah, but they blowing out and shit. Like, guys blowing the AT, they need players. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I guess if it gets that bad, then, they'll put me
You still play a lot?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I play in a couple of basketball leagues. Play out in Compton. I play at one of the DeMar DeRozan's gyms.
Okay.
Play with his brother. Play a lot of pickup and stuff. So, I mean, I love the game. You know what I mean? It's one of those games where, again, unlike football, you really don't need somebody else to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your individual skill set will kind of set you apart. I mean, and your coaches, again, if you got talent, especially late in the games, you want to win a game, you put the ball in your best player's hands. And so you either, rise to the occasion or you don't. You think about what LeBron is doing now. LeBron is, as opposed to years prior when it's always been that Batman Robin. He was, him and Dwayne Wade. Now then it was him and Kyrie Irving. Now he's Batman and Robin. He's forced to make these game-winning shots that everybody's been expecting of his caliber all these years. So again, there's always that conversation of, well, who's the greatest? LeBron, MJ or Kobe. Now everybody is starting to kind of put him in that real conversation.
He's definitely in that conversation.
Now he is, man, no doubt.
But the thing is, again, statistic-wise, if you play longer than somebody, your statistics are going to be better than in MJ.
Of course, yeah.
But I think what really separates, him and Kobe and MJ is because I think everybody felt that he lacked that killer instinct. So now he's forced to be put in this situation because he's not trusting anybody else to take that shot.
Nah, he's forced to take every shot.
Yeah, so now he has to play like everybody's expecting the LeBron James to have played years prior.
This is the LeBron that I like, though. This is when I want to watch LeBron.
Dude,
this is like when I saw LeBron play in the ninth grade. When I saw him play, he was 15 years old. I saw him playing. He was in the ninth grade.
You were with the Indians,
and I
then?
wanted him to do what he's doing now. Take every fucking shot. You know what I'm saying? Like
you were asking this of a 15-year-old.
That's how much better he was than everybody else.
Right, but what you expected then he wasn't
ready. He would never do it. Yeah,
he wasn't ready because I think he was afraid of that moment. I really think he wasn't ready for that moment.
Or even afraid of it, or just such a basketball player where he's just gonna get everybody involved.
But that's not
if
what
it's an open player, he's gonna pass the ball to that guy.
Right, but he wasn't but that's what made MJ who he was. He learned that early on.
He took that shot.
You know what I mean?
Kobe
he learned that. He learned that early on. You at some point, if you're gonna win championships, you got to learn to trust your players. And I think he was adopting that really at an early age when, again, it was the opposite for him. For those other guys, they were taking that shot because they had confidence. Maybe their skill set wasn't, at that point to where they were, ready to make that shot, but they took it anyway.
Yeah.
But
Kobe
like I said,
they took it anyway.
Exactly.
And with, varying results.
Exactly. And that's the thing. They took
Kobe,
the heat.
yeah.
I mean, you're going to be the hero or the GOAT by taking that shot. And I don't think he was really to take on that criticism for them.
Right.
I feel you on that. That makes sense.
You build that foundation, right? Where it's like he's gotten he's gotten enough validation in his career now where he knows like you can't say anything about me.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about failing in any way. If I take that shot and I miss it, I don't care. What are you going to say about me? Look at what I've done. And the crazy thing is, and this is like a little bit more like basketball specific, but he's hitting all these shots in all different ways, like a floater running off the glass,
he shot that ball off the glass the other day. When he shot the ball, I was like, he missed that shit horribly. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh no, he meant to shoot that shit off like a game winner off the glass, dog.
Right.
Like
what he's doing right now is one of the craziest things I've ever seen an athlete do.
And it's so like perfect timing.
Yeah.
It's so like perfect timing because of the way that things that unfolded with, free agency with he and Kyrie, and then Kyrie leaving because Kyrie wanted to be the man.
He wanted to have his
own
team.
He wanted, and I don't think it had anything to do personally with him, but now he's won a championship. So now he wants to be able to develop, himself, He wants to be able to build a team around himself and really get to a championship.
Or just
where
have some say.
Right.
Like,
He wants to
what
be
type of player of his caliber don't have say in what's going on or who he's going to play with?
Right,
because
exactly.
He was under LeBron.
Right,
So
exactly.
now
He
he's
was
got his
always
own
going to be
thing.
that Robin,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
I think that actually, when people talk about like the GOAT argument, that's one of the strongest cases I think for LeBron. In addition to everything he does on the floor, like, has anyone ever controlled the front office the way that LeBron James does? Like,
I'm pretty sure MJ probably had a
probably,
hand in
yeah.
that
I'm
when
sure
he
he
in
was
Chicago.
consulted.
But
Yeah,
LeBron got a whole new team on fucking Monday. He was like, woke up on Sunday and was like, I need a whole new fucking squad Monday morning. Get me everybody out of here.
By the way, most of these guys
He
aren't
got
even
a whole
contributing
new
in the playoffs
squad,
now.
like,
Like,
yeah.
like,
I know, like,
moving pieces.
he
yeah,
came up with a whole new squad.
That's what I'm saying. Now, like, just having you here and getting to have this conversation has me even more excited for your speech, like, coming up for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, but I got some stuff
Have you
planned.
started working on it yet?
Yeah. I've been jotting it down probably like even as far as even last year, even before I got in. So I mean, I knew eventually I was going to get in. Not really pleased with the process in which
I was about to
got
say, so
in.
like how you like not going.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
and
it
showing
took
for the door knock and all that stuff. It was just not being there, or
Yeah, I mean,
because
like I said,
of the disrespect.
Right. It was more disrespect than disappointment for me. And I think when you look at, all the Hall of Fame, talking about baseball, you talk about basketball, they haven't really considered any outside stuff. They considered your body of work, whatever you did on the court or field or what have you. And I think with me, I think it was something personal, because how can you say that, I'm a bad teammate when guys have stood up and basically have, tried to dispel any of that, the notion of that I was a bad teammate or I disrupted locker rooms, then they brought up character issues. My thing is I've never been any off the field issues. So when you talk about that, that really speaks to a person's character on how they carry themselves. Mm-hmm. And I really adopted that, early on when I played with, the 49ers, and you go home for the summer. One of the things coaches say is like, represent yourself, your family, and the organization. And I took that to heart, and that's what I did. Number one, obviously you want to represent yourself, your name on the back of your jersey. But again, you want to carry yourself as a decent human being, because all your actions is going to, it's going to reflect on whomever you're dealing with. And that's your teammates, the organization, and obviously your family. And I think I've done a great job of that based on really how my grandmother raised me. And I know right from wrong. And, throughout the course of my career, could I have done some things differently? Of course, we all wish we could go back in hindsight and do some things, differently. I made some poor decisions, made some mistakes here and there, but nobody's perfect. And so that's where I really felt, really disrespected in that regard, because they didn't really adhere to really the bylaws in which guys are supposed to be inducted, and really just didn't go by what I did on the football field and bringing other issues into play.
Did it still feel as good as you imagine it?
It didn't.
No, I had lost. It had basically lost that pizzazz, of what it really meant to be in the Hall of Fame. And before I even knew anything about the Hall of Fame, I never really thought I would even be at this point. I never thought I would be a football player, for that matter, especially beyond the collegiate level. I played in high school, played in college, but that was never really my dream. Never my aspirations to go on to the NFL and do what I did. But I think with my athletic ability, my drive, I talk about my 3 Ds all the time: my desire, my dedication, and my discipline. That's what enabled me to do what I did. Everybody has a desire to do or be something, but you got to put in that extra to get there, and that's dedication and that's discipline. I did that at early as high school, lifting weights during enrichment period, when I had a chance, and then I carried that on to college when I couldn't go home because like I said, we couldn't afford a car or anything like that, so I stayed at school for the summer. So I asked the coach for the key to the weight room. So during the summer, if I wasn't running around keeping myself around campus in shape, then I would go to that weight room. I had the key anytime that I wanted to, and I would lift weights. If you're in the weight room, you got to have a spotter. That's how I became so strong, because I had to do everything by myself because I was in there solo.
So now that a little more time has gone by, is it exciting for you going into the Hall of Fame, or is it still? Does the luster still off?
I think that the luster is still there. Like I said, I'm very fortunate. I'm happy for the people that were literally genuinely happy for me, and especially a lot of the fans, because the fans were getting pissed off too.
Yeah,
you know,
everybody was getting pissed off.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
just,
because
it
it
just
wasn't
doesn't
really,
make sense.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
That's
like,
what I'm saying. Like you said,
yeah.
it wasn't no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're keeping this guy out because of what? When his stats say this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you've seen guys that are in the Hall of Fame with far worse, you know, character issues and problems that are in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
It didn't affect you inducting them, but for me it was. And so, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to use this opportunity really to give back to the people. Again, that genuinely, like I said, I got so many heartfelt, you know, really just text messages, even phone calls, even from my trainer that, you know, that was in Philly. I mean, he basically told me when he heard he was in the gym, he literally broke down in tears because he knew me on a personal level outside of the media portrayal of me, because I played with him in Philly. He knew the type of person that I was. And I had so many players, even when I went to Philly for the first time, that pulled me aside. They was like, dude, you're nothing like I thought you were, because they only saw me from the media perspective. They just saw the highlights. They saw the analysts commenting on me, commentating, you know, giving their opinions on who I was as a person. So they drew their conclusion based on that. So, dude, I had people like, dude, I apologize, you know, for my thoughts, you know what I mean? But again, that's just how powerful the media is. And I think now you're seeing guys take advantage of their platforms that they have now to dispel.
Look at this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got guys, you know, creating podcasts. You're having all these influx of social media platforms where you can go on and you can, like I said, dispel and really speak out and have a voice, versus letting the media have a voice for you.
And tell people who you are. You
Right.
can tell people who you are yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so again, I was on the cutting edge, right on the brink of, you know, social media, right as it was beginning. I was on the, you know, on the exit.
It would have been fun to have T.O.
Man,
in
T.O.
social media in the Twitter age, man.
Oh,
Oh,
God,
baby.
dude.
it would have been Embiid like though.
You
You know what I'm
would have
saying?
been.
Yeah, exactly.
You would have been
Oh,
Joel
Going at
Embiid.
people,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
trust me, dude.
It's crazy.
And like I said, I mean, I understand, like I said, you know, media has a job, you know, to do, but I think that they've done me a disservice, because a lot of people really think that I'm a bad person. They think I'm an arrogant, I'm a cocky person, bro. And like for me, outside of football, like I'm pretty chill. Like I said, I'm laid back. I'm really reserved. You know, I have my moments. I'm just like anybody else. You know what I mean? You like your private time. You enjoy your friends and family. You know, the people that you're close to. And again, like I said, a lot of people, like I said, I know it has affected me even off the field. When you talk about marketing and branding and things of that nature, people still hold on because that's all they can remember and know of me, is that I was this type of person.
Are you starting to think about the Hall of Fame at all?
What?
What do you mean, man? Come on.
Bro, I'm thinking about pitching against Boston tomorrow.
That's
That's
it.
it.
That's it. No,
That's
That's
crazy.
the last
He just chilled in here.
right,
He got a
exactly.
game against.
But he, see,
That's the last thing.
but
I'm
I get to
thinking
be,
about,
I
bro.
get to be his hype man, right? As his friend, like I'm like, yo, like there, like it was CC's career definitely had that trajectory and stuff, but like it's hard. But I think like CC's gonna go to the Hall of Fame, man.
I don't know, man. I might be a little short, but I mean,
Come on, man.
I just want another ring, bro. That's all I
You
want.
got how many? 1, 2?
One.
You got one?
I got
Okay.
one. I need
Okay.
one more, man. That parade, man. Like,
No, yeah,
that's
and
all
that's-
I'm really
and-
playing for.
Right, that's something, like I said, I never really got a chance to experience, and that's why I was so happy for the fans of Philadelphia, bro. Like we were so close.
Y'all was close too.
Now, we
and
was
you
so-
got,
On your broken
bro, you
leg.
had a broken leg, bro.
So I mean,
it was amazing that you was even out there, man.
man, like I said, man, I was just over in another building, and a Philly fan said, "Man, you gave us the second greatest game, you know,
You did, man.
in Philly history." Obviously, like I said, obviously the Super Bowl trumps it, but we just came up short. And
What
so,
out of all the places that you played, what was your favorite? Like, where are you most connected to?
no, I really feel it. Probably Philly and Dallas.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I say Philly mainly because of the head coach, because he's a guy that really, he's a coach that understood talent and what he could do with a talent like myself, and how advantageous it could be to the guys around them and just for the team as a whole. So again, bro, I mean, when I was in San Francisco, bro, I felt like I could do so much more. So again, that's where sometimes I think a lot of my emotions spilled over into my press conferences, and I think a lot of people, they don't really pay attention to this. I never really had any issues when we were winning. My only issues were when we lost games, you know, where I felt like I could have gotten more involved and I wasn't, you know, in the game plan. That was never the case in Philly. there was never. If we lost, that means we just played bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And somebody just basically just kicked our butt that day. You know how it is. You can just have your.
You can just lose.
Yeah, you have your best stuff. You two teams are competing, and somebody has to win, somebody has to lose.
Mm-hmm.
But my first year in Philly, bro, it wasn't a game. Like when I drove to the stadium, man, it was just like it was crazy. I'm driving through a sea of green, like bro, I was hyped, bro. It wasn't. I literally felt like there was nothing I couldn't do on the football field because I had basically
those fans are insane.
And the thing is, I had prepared myself. You know, even when I was in San Francisco, I had prepared myself in the offseason for those moments. You know what I mean? And so when you prepare yourself, you only expect great results.
Terrell, if we take your some of your former teams and we take their current quarterbacks, Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, or Jimmy Garoppolo, who would you choose from those current quarterbacks?
Garoppolo.
Jimmy?
I'm taking Garoppolo.
Why?
Based on what I've seen him do, based on where he came from, the tutelage in which he's gotten to be, learn, some nuances of being a quarterback.
Does that cross over though? Like when he goes to San Francisco, you know what I'm saying? Or like,
oh yeah,
does he keep that or does?
Of course. I mean, to understand, like you've played in a system under Bill Belichick, you played behind a Tom Brady. When Tom Brady was hurt, he fills in. There was really no drop off. No drop off. The only reason he got his job, he didn't play because Tom got healthy. He got his job back, and then I think there was a suspension that he had too.
And
so he held the fort down.
Yeah.
So there really was no drop off. I think he could have still accomplished the same thing just as Tom did, But now you see what he's doing in San Francisco. He gets that trade. Now you're seeing what San Francisco needed because they had a quarterback in place before him, and they weren't getting any results. He goes on and he wins the last 5 games. That's not easy to do.
Yeah.
Not with an average quarterback. So you can just tell he's a little bit better than average, a little bit better than good. He's very cerebral. He's taken what he's learned in New England. And again, obviously you have your physical ability, you know what you can do too, and you learn in that system. It's a different system. So now you just try to make the use and the best of what you have around you. And now you start to see guys start to play well because of the quarterback play.
What about current wide receivers? If you had to rank your top 3, who would it be?
I'm gonna go my top 3: Antonio Brown. It's hard with Odell and Julio Jones.
Yeah.
And I say Julio Jones too, and maybe I'm being biased because I just
You're working with him,
I've
right?
been working out with him.
Yeah.
I've seen this guy. I understand, and for me, understanding too, like he's a guy that's been underutilized. You think about the Super Bowl that they lost, and then you think about what his stats were this past year. But let's go to the Super Bowl. They up 25. They lose to New England. Number one, it could be a coaching. You can factor in time management, but then two, you look at Julio's stats. He only had 4 catches in that Super Bowl. 4 catches for a guy that we're talking about the top 3 in the league. You got, like you said, a lot of that's a little bit of that's coaching.
Yeah.
You understanding in certain situations, you run the ball when you need to, you pass it when you need to. You don't take the gas off, especially against a team like that. We just talked about that. No lead is safe.
No. And that one certainly wasn't.
No lead is safe. But this guy is, like I said, you talk about the ability and the catch radius of this kid. Like, this dude is like, legs are strong, dude is fast, quick, he's a beast. And I think what really kind of keeps him out of conversation with some of the top guys, because you think about the highlights that Odell Beckham is doing and, some of the stuff that he's done, and you think about Antonio Brown, just his consistency, his level of professionalism. But you think about some of those injuries is what really has kept Julio out of conversation. So if he keeps himself healthy, oh my God, you're gonna see a new Julio. You're gonna see him in the forefront.
I gotta ask you this one. I saw on Twitter the other day, you said Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback that threw you the nicest ball. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I mean you always have the and like I said, a lot of people felt like I was disrespecting Steve Young, but I only played like 3 years with Steve Young. It was like I was still a young kid. Like I was still
but how long did you play with Fitzpatrick? You played like what, a year with him?
But I say that because
Where'd you play with Fitzpatrick?
In Buffalo.
Oh,
but I
okay.
say that because of where I was in a time in my career when, again, I played in not a pass-friendly, environment in Buffalo because of the weather. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I realized, like, before Fitzpatrick got the job, Trent Edwards used to be the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And so they brought me in to kind of help groom him as a young quarterback to get to the potential that they expected him to play at. So it really didn't work out. It didn't pan out. Like, he had his main receiver in Lee Evans. That was his target. And there was a tight end too that he targeted mostly. So he wasn't really comfortable with me playing. So I came in, wasn't really getting the stats and the numbers that I wanted. But when Fitzpatrick came in, I started to ball out because he's a veteran quarterback. He understood too. I was a veteran receiver. Like, yo, let me ball out. Let us run the
help you.
Yeah. And so, and those are some of the things. And I say that because it's one particular play that really sticks out in my mind because of the heads up, veteran savvy play, and just the cerebral player that he is. We're in Jacksonville. We're on the 2-yard line coming out. So typically in that situation, we got to run the ball.
Yeah.
So you can get, so you can start to, orchestrate your offense. And so we're on the 2-yard line. Everybody in the building knows, even the commentators, they're looking and like, okay, we're about to run the ball. The defense tried to disguise a cover too, but they knew the safety was coming down to stop the run. So right as we were about to snap the ball, the safety comes down to stop the run because they know we're on a 2-yard line. I see it. Fitzpatrick looks out at me. It was almost like that unspoken, rule or just confidence or play that we had in our head. He made a check at the line to change the run protection to pass protection, only for the line. I knew it was a pass all the way once he made that check. Dude, I scored a 98-yarder.
Wow.
And I say that because if Trent Edwards is in that position as quarterback, that young quarterback, he doesn't make that play.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the balls to call that play.
Right.
And then, like I said, Fitzpatrick, he was a savvy quarterback. He knew how to play the game. He knew like when to put touch on the ball, when to zip that ball in there. Like we just instantly, like every quarterback that I played with, it seems like I instantly clicked. But that was probably because I was groomed in San Francisco with this thing that we call the scramble drill. And wherever you are on the football field, if a play breaks down, wherever you are in relation to the quarterback, you had an assignment. You had somewhere to be. And so I learned that everywhere that I went. So if plays broke down, I did what I call MYA. That's make yourself available. So when that quarterback gets out of the pocket, plays break down, if you want to make a play, you want to catch the ball, be visible. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. So it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a knock on any of the quarterbacks that I played with because everybody kind of had their strengths and weaknesses. With Donovan, I mean, I felt like he could have had more touch on the ball at times, and you saw a lot of inaccuracy when if you watched the game, you saw him throwing balls in the dirt. That's because his feet weren't set, wasn't accurate, didn't really perfect his craft, really hone in on it during the offseason, work on the things that he was weak at. I saw it, other players saw it, so it's nothing new that I'm saying it. Mm-hmm. But again, those are some of the things that, again, like some quarterbacks possess more than others.
I hope Fitzpatrick listens because, he's never going to feel better about himself than right now, man.
No, and like I said, dude,
I like it. It's good.
Dude, like I said, and I know it's off the cusp. And sometimes when I first said it, I was like, let me just throw the fans off. Yeah. But I really had put some thought into it because I knew, like I said, at that time in my career, like I said, I think I had like 800-something yards. And that's pretty decent, like I said, in a not a pass-friendly environment.
Yeah, especially in your 15th year or whatever it was.
But again, like I said, the weather prevented us from really throwing the ball a lot of the times when it got late in the season.
Yeah.
So to have like 800 to 900 yards, and even sometimes in that situation 1,000 yards, you're balling.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, you wouldn't think of the name because of Romo and Garcia and Young and McNabb. Yeah. But good for Ryan Fitzpatrick to have that moment thanks to Terrell Owens.
For sure.
Tio, thank you for doing this, man. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you guys, bro. Appreciate you guys for having me, man.